Trump, welcome back to the program and welcome to New Hampshire. Big day.
It was a big day and a great day, and the people are fantastic in New Hampshire, I will say.
How do you feel?
Really good. I've seen so many different things. We've gone through factories, we've gone through restaurants. We really have had a good time and a great time. I love New Hampshire. I've been here many times, and I really like it a lot.
As if you weren't busy enough, President Obama today released his birth certificate to satisfy what he called sideshow and carnival barkers.
Well, I'm really honored by what's happened because I got him to do something that nobody else was able to get him to do. The Clintons couldn't get him to do it. John McCain couldn't get him to do it. Nobody could get him to do it. Everybody wanted to see it. Now, I haven't seen it, but it was just as I was landing that it came out. And I made the statement to the press before. I mean, I am really honored and actually very proud of myself that I was able to get him to do what he should have done years ago. Why he didn't do it, I have absolutely no idea, but he should have done this years ago. And nobody was able to get him to do it. And the fact is, I get things done. So I'm very, very proud of myself. And frankly, I've gotten great press on it. I mean, the press has been very, very strong on the fact that Trump was the only one that got him to release his birth certificate.
So you're satisfied now? This is a non-issue as far as you're concerned?
Well, I haven't seen the birth certificate, but experts will look at it, and I hope it's a non-issue because my issue is China. My issue is OPEC. My issue is the economy and gasoline, which is going to go to $5, $6, and $7 a gallon because we have a president who's incompetent and doesn't know what he's doing. So those are my issues. And I hated being derailed by every time I'd sit down with a reporter, they'd start asking me about the birth certificate. So that became an issue, but my primary issue is gasoline. It's the economy, it's jobs, and that's what I like talking about. So I hope it's good. I'm sure it's good. Obviously experts are going to have to look at it. But nobody understands why it took him so long. But I got him to do it, so I'm very proud of that.
Well, the buzz around you, Mr. Trump, certainly growing louder, and you're polling very well. But at the same time, there are a lot of people who think this simply is a big publicity stunt. So here it is. Why should New Hampshire voters take you seriously as a candidate?
Well, I think what they should do is wait about 3 weeks, because I said that I will announce one way or the other sometime prior to June. And I hate saying this because it sounds so trivial, but I have a major television show that's doing very well in the ratings. It's a #1 show on NBC, and it's a very big show called Celebrity Apprentice. And during the course and the run of that show, I'm just not allowed to do this. I'm not allowed to run. Otherwise, NBC will have spent millions and millions of dollars on each episode, and they'd have to stop it because you can't be a declared candidate and be in a show. So I can't do it. I would love to do it. I'd love to make my announcement right now to you, to the people of New Hampshire, but I can't do it. But in about 3 weeks, no more than 4 weeks, but sometime prior to June, after May 22nd, I'll be making, that's the finale on a Sunday evening, I'll be making an announcement I think will surprise people very much.
Well, let me ask you this.
And I hope pleasantly.
Well, you can't make an announcement for a few weeks, but as we sit here right now today, do you know in your mind whether you're running for president?
I know in my mind, yes.
So you've already decided?
I know what I am going to do, and I'm giving up a lot if I run. If I run, I give up a lot. I have a great business, a powerful business, a rich business. I've built a great company, and that will be disclosed because one thing you do is if you run, you're going to be disclosing your finances, your cash, where the cash is, how many banks you have, how much is in each bank, and all of that. And that's fine. I think people will be very, very impressed. So if I run, I think they're going to be they will be very, very impressed with what I've done.
So let's say you run and then you win. You brought up the gas prices. And you yelled a lot at OPEC in the Middle East, but a lot of people blame this on the speculators buying and selling tankers of oil 3 or 4 times before it arrives to the U.S. mainland. As a president, what can or would you do?
Well, there's such an easy move to be made with the speculators, and I don't think Obama, look, I don't happen to think Obama is competent. I think he is a terrible president, and I don't think he's very competent. If he was, he should have given the birth certificate years ago when Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton wanted him to do it. He should have done it so many different, you look at what's happening in Libya. Libya is a total catastrophe. No, we don't even know what we're doing over there. By the way, China gets its oil from Libya. We don't. Why isn't China involved? And does he have any plan? At first he says we don't want to do anything to Gaddafi. We don't want a regime change. I mean,
well, what's your plan? I mean, you talk about gas prices.
I have a lot of plans. I have a lot of plans. Number one, OPEC. Saudi Arabia raised the price of fuel the other day, as you know, by saying we're going to cut back, and that had a huge negative impact. They're going to behave with me, believe me. They wouldn't even be there. We have soldiers guarding Saudi Arabia, for which they don't pay us. We have people guarding, soldiers, military guarding Saudi Arabia. We have the power. We have all of the power. We don't use the power. Obama gives state dinners for these people. He gives state dinners for the head of China, the president of China, comes in for a state dinner, and he's been screwing this country for years, and it's a disgrace that he would get a state dinner. They've been manipulating their currency. They've been doing things to us that make it absolutely impossible for many of our companies to do business, and we give him a state dinner. Shouldn't happen. As far as OPEC is concerned, you get them in a room and you say, fellas, the game is over. And if you have the right messenger, believe me, that oil gets down to not $2, it gets down to $1.50. We're going to go up to $6, $7, and $8 a gallon. And I guarantee you that when Saudi Arabia essentially raised the price of oil, which is going to hit record levels, but when they raised the price of oil by cutting their production, I guarantee you nobody in the White House even called them to say, what are you doing?
All right, let's talk about, you're in New Hampshire now, and you've seen it all across the country. A lot of states at the state level filing a lot of union-busting legislation. A few weeks ago, we had a protest here on the State House lawn in Concord, about 4,000 people. I want to ask you, when you see this taking place, what's your philosophy when you see some of this legislation, the right to work? Is this good for the working man in the long run, in your opinion?
Well, I think right to work is a good thing. I think right to work is happening more and more. And, you know, I come from a very, very heavily unionized state in New York, especially Manhattan. And I've always gotten along very well with unions. I've made a lot of money in deals built by unions because as a builder in New York, I mean, every building is built. I would say virtually every single building in Manhattan is built with union labor. I've always had a very good relationship with labor, but I also understand it's more expensive. It costs a lot of money, and there is a downside. And I know so much about right to work versus union labor, and more people are going non-union, and it's very interesting because I never thought I'd see it. I've never thought I'd see what's going on in Wisconsin and so many other states right now. It's a tough time for unions. And what that's really doing is people are saying we want the costs to come down. We can't afford to be paying people 40, 50, 60% more than other people are making. So it's a trend that I never thought you'd be seeing, or certainly not this soon, but the unions are having a very, very bad year. There's no question about it.
I think some New Hampshire voters would be interested in knowing your position on the Second Amendment as well. It's a big issue out here.
In what? Go ahead. Give me the question.
When it comes to the right to bear arms, you have a lot of states that are, here in New Hampshire, for instance, tried to pass some legislation to right to conceal without a permit. What's your position when it comes to gun
Well,
rights?
look, I have two sons that are in the National Rifle Association, and I feel very strongly that you have to have the right to bear arms. And I feel it for a number of reasons, but part of it's common sense, because the bad guys are going to have arms. So that means the good guys are going to say, oh, we won't because we want to be a law-abiding citizens. But the bad guys are going to have arms. So I feel very, very strongly that you have to have and you should have the right to bear arms. And I've felt that way for a long time.
The more you come to New Hampshire, the more you're going to talk to people out on the streets. Retail politics is a big issue up here, something that people look forward to meet you a few times.
Well, we did have some turnout at the airport, I will say that.
You
That
certainly
was
did. You
amazing.
certainly did. And that's an indication of what you might be able to expect over the course of the next few weeks.
And what I've really liked are the polls in New Hampshire have been amazing for me, and the polls generally. I think I'm at the lead of every single poll right now. And I think the reason that I am, some people would say the Bertha issue, I don't believe that, although I'm very proud of what I've been able to do with that. But I think they know that China is not going to be ripping us off if I'm president. I think they know that OPEC and Saudi Arabia and all these countries that conspire against us to make people pay $6 and $7 a gallon for gasoline, that's not going to be happening if I'm there. And I really think that's why I'm at the head of every poll. I think it resonates. And people feel, look, they've known me for a long time. I've been around, and I've been a known commodity for a long time. And I've been very successful. And if I decide to run, which I'll announce sometime prior to June, they know that I know what I'm doing. And I would be fighting for this country like nobody ever fought before. And I think that's why I'm at the head of the polls.
You talk about the polls. Polls are one thing, but eventually you have to connect on a personal level. People know Donald Trump from the airplanes, the towers in New York City, the casinos. How can you relate to the working family here in New Hampshire? Or for that matter, do you need to?
Well, I don't know if I need to, but I'm going to do everything I can to do it. I really don't know. The people of New Hampshire are very smart. They're hardworking people. They're great people. I just went through a factory and a couple of plants. It's amazing. They're just great people. And I don't know that I really have to go down and sit down and have breakfast with two people and have a lunch with two more people, because the people of New Hampshire are smart. And I think what they need now is a real leader. This is the most important election virtually that this country has ever had, because our country is doing terribly. We have incompetent leadership right now, and this country is doing terribly. If we pick the wrong president, or if we let Obama run this country for another 4 years, I'm not sure that the country can ever come back. I'm not sure the country can ever recover again. I'm just not sure they can do it. And I really think, you could say the Abraham Lincoln election was a very important election, but this is almost since then. This is the most important election that this country has had in many, many years. And if Obama gets in for another 4 years, I don't think the country will ever come back.
Mr. Trump, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor.
Have you back again.
Okay.